All right, BMW.
There we go.
This is all the things. This is BMW X5 XDrive 45e.
Don't forget the E at the
E
end.
is key, yes.
This is the hybrid. Interestingly, BMW conducted a full cycle CO2 emissions test for this vehicle from raw material procurement all the way through production and usage to recycling at the very end. They found that they used 40% less CO2 output for this vehicle than the X40, the X5 XDrive 40i.
The one just below this with just a gas motor.
With just the gas motor.
Got it. Okay, all right.
Okay, great. If that's something that appeals to you, great. And here it is, the solution from BMW.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver. And here's all the hybrid goodness, everything in it. So it has a 268 horsepower inline six, along with a 113 horsepower electric motor that is sandwiched with the transmission.
Yes.
So it's the recipe that many car manufacturers are doing for the plug-in hybrid.
And interestingly enough, the version of this just prior had a little turbo four-cylinder and significantly less power.
Yeah.
This is a major bump in power because the all-told power is 389 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
It has a shocking amount of power.
It's
Every
great.
time I get in this thing, we're sitting at a light right now. Every time I leave a light, it has that electric shove, that whoosh, whoosh. It's just because it's got all of the things. Yes.
Well, BMW's intention is for the hybrid part to be used in neighborhoods and cities, which is great. And then they've got this brilliant 3-liter inline six for the highway cruising, the fast stuff. But that's the balance. So I get that. But that is pretty much the recipe for any car manufacturer for their hybrid usage. Kind of crawl around. But that does mean, just like any plug-in hybrid, you're now powering with two fuels. You have to source two fuels.
Two fuels, two motors, two technologies.
So my question is, and this is the big question is, for any plug-in hybrid, are you willing to do that and feed it and plug it in at night? Can you? Will you?
Yeah.
Or will you just get lazy and let the battery run down and just act like it's a gas-powered vehicle and kind of use it when it gets charged a little bit through regenerative braking, and you kind of use it sometime? Because, yeah, you're right. When the engine's on, you get that shove, but that then can't be the only reason you buy this for $81,000. If you are, that's great, and you're puttering around, and that's what BMW has predicated the sales of their hybrid technology, and I think that's going to last for a while. I get the idea that BMW isn't quite ready to let go of their internal combustion engines yet.
But I think in spite of regulations, and we talked about this on the podcast, I don't think the world's going all electric in the 2030s like we're saying that it's going to, because I don't think the tech is going to catch up fast enough, and the availability of charging and all of these things. There's a lot going on behind the scenes there, but I think most of that is political posturing and less of that is political reality. We shall see.
But this is a manifestation of all that.
This absolutely is.
This is a physical manifestation of that.
But it also feels like this is a stopgap. We're going to have a foot in both camps in case it doesn't necessarily go all electric. Because here's the other interesting thing. I feel like the only way this really makes sense is if you buy this, again, $81,000, but if you are going to actually use it as an all-electric vehicle, because your normal day-to-day commute is less than that 31-mile range that it has in all-electric mode. If your commute is 10 miles one way in Los Angeles, 15 miles one way in Los Angeles, and you can actually get by on the all-electric. We liked the original Chevy Volt for this exact same reason. Its range wasn't that great, but if you could use it as an all-electric, then it was the best of all worlds. Now, that was different than this. It doesn't use the engine the same way. But if you can use this as an all-electric and plug it in at night, then I can see it making some sense.
If you do that, and you're responsible, and you plug it in, and you make the effort to do that.
Here's the other reason I think it exists. Believe it or not, this does qualify for the tax credit.
No kidding.
Believe it or not, this in some markets qualifies for the tax credit. So you can have your cake and eat it too. You can get your big, powerful BMW X5, and you can get your feel-good tax credit, which, by the way, is not the government writing you a check. Just so you know, it's not how that works. You can get your tax credit of $7,500 because you got an EV. You didn't, really, but you kind of did. So you get that $7,500 tax credit, and you have the ability, hopefully, to use that electric motor to just whoosh your way to work And then when you need to go further, road trip, whatever, you're going to haul something, then you can actually have all of the above. The result of all that technology is 5,600 pounds of weight.
Yes, it's heavy. She's
nearly weighs
heavy.
6,000 pounds. This weighs what things like Suburbans weigh. Think about
Expeditions,
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you would think, being a BMW, that it has to handle and drive very well. Mm-hmm. Well, it's good. Mm-hmm. It's good.
Okay.
But it has a feature called Driver Assistance Pro. So it's going to help you.
It's a professional level of driver assistance.
Right.
Yeah, look out.
Well, that assistance is in direct conflict with steering feel. Because now, just like any car that has that, you're fighting servos and motors.
Yep.
So there's far more to the steering here that deadens everything. Mm-hmm. So I don't come away thinking, wow, it's a very sharp, crisp, excellent handling BMW. The X5M competition will surprise you, and it's amazing.
It's shocking in all of those ways.
But it doesn't have that,
to
my knowledge.
No.
This, with the driver assistance, it makes the steering dead. There's nothing here in an $81,000 BMW, which should. It just kind of floats along and therefore feels like any other large, heavy SUV. I want it to be differentiated, but that's not the point of the X5 XDrive 45e.
Yeah.
I did it.
You did it.
I did
Good
it.
job. You did it on memory. Bravo. I had notes. Yeah.
I feel good about that.
You should be proud. That's a lot of things to remember.
So you have to let that go when you're coming into, sports car thinking. BMW makes another model. It's the X5M competition.
They do.
But that's not what this is. So you're into commuting. It still might be a do-it-all vehicle. It still might be the family vehicle.
Maybe, yeah.
You can mostly get good-sized people back there.
It's a good 5-seater.
It's decent.
A solid 5-seater, for sure.
It's decent. The best part about it, though, is that tailgate. The hatch.
Oh.
It's so excellent.
Yeah, it's got the dual hatch.
I love it. Tailgating is so cool. And it even flaps up the lower part. When you close it with the button, it flaps the lower part first. It's a treat. It's a delight to watch. It's this mechanical marvel doing things for me. It's great.
Yeah, okay. There's your Driver Assistance Pro.
Yeah,
it's
right.
all about that's actually the Tailgate Pro, I bet you. Yeah, that's a whole different level. Yeah.
Yes, this sits up high. It feels big. It feels heavy. If that's what you're looking for, that's excellent. It just doesn't have the driving feel that I want a BMW to come away with.
I hear that.
You might say, it's an SUV. Why are you having those expectations? Because of the badge. Because of what BMW has established for years, decades, about being great to drive. It's fine to drive, but initial turn-in, if it's not in sport mode, it kind of finds itself. You feel the whole weight of the car shift, but then you're feeling 21-inch wheels and tires as part of the M Sport package. They're huge, and they look small on this car.
The side profile of this thing is massive.
It really is. This seems like it should be the 7-seater.
But not based on use of space. You can sometimes get these with an extra back seat.
You can.
Be careful.
You can.
Yeah, I don't think that's all that usable.
We'll take a look at the styling. Well, I like the proportions, and I like BMW's stylistic language these days.
Beaver teeth!
It doesn't quite have the beaver teeth. It's not quite as large, so I think it still works. It's right on the cusp. See what I did there?
Yeah,
of
very
being
good,
too big, but it's not.
And
for
then
the
they're
proportion
chromed.
size, they did chrome them. So it's almost there, but I like the language where it's lines that look like you draw from your shoulder, not your wrist, with very nice radiuses everywhere. The headlights, the taillights, the shapes. And everything does say money. It looks expensive.
It does.
It looks
does
beautiful.
Look yes,
it's
I agree with
elegant.
That, yeah.
The lines, how they resolve. There's muscular fenders back here. I like what is happening here. I even like the interior. The seats are brilliant. And when you put it in sport mode, the entire car lowers itself on its air suspension, and it idles higher, and it feels kind of ready to rock. And then the seat bolsters, they squeeze you in your loins. They squeeze you right there.
Hello, sport mode.
Like, oh, sporty, we're going to get sporty driving. I say that with a caveat. It's not a sports car, so don't bring the X5M competition kind of thinking.
Sure, or you don't have to bring that price either, thankfully.
Well, or that, this defies physics kind of feeling. That's not the point. Yeah. The interior is very BMW right now.
Absolutely, yep.
It's good for right now. It's interesting, and it does look beautiful and luxurious, but I'm kind of waiting what BMW has in store for what's next. I feel like this is still too typical. It's just right now. It works well. I do like the controls and how everything interacts. I just question the white.
Yeah, it's
9,000 miles and it's filthy.
Yeah, I just
it.
see you better have a person that does the cleaning of the car for you because you're going to.
If you paid $81,000, I guess you can afford that.
Hopefully you do. All right, I'm driving.
Have fun driving. Have you noticed the sound, the electric car hum that it emits?
Oh, yeah.
Because it thinks it's an electric car.
It's part of the whoosh. Yeah.
It is part of the whoosh.
It's all part of the whoosh, yeah.
Well, I think this plug-in hybrids will continue for a while. And so therefore, 10, 15 years from now, this is going to feel incredibly old, especially from a technological standpoint, but it is very right now. It very much meets requirements right now. But as you said, it could go either way. We could, keep going in the direction. Or
it's definitely a foot in both
There it
camps. It's definitely sitting here as a stopgap going.
You know what I mean?
Okay, we'll play all of the above. Now, I'm going to put my head back because, you know
Are you
what?
going to do the whoosh? Are you in sport mode?
Yep.
Okay, good.
That is the biggest surprise of this X5, is it shouldn't feel as powerful as it does. And from the light, because of that electric motor, you're gone.
Yeah,
you're
surprise
gone
everybody.
in that fantastic
Yeah, for sure.
electric car way because it has
sure.
that electric motor, and then it has that fantastic straight six to go with it. The power is the thing that says BMW to me about this more than anything else, because I keep being surprised at how powerful it is. And partial throttle. And the other thing is the partial throttle, there's that delay that happens for the straight six that you kind of expect from a gas motor. But what you don't expect is it has the complete no delay, the instantaneous reality of the electric motor first. So you have both combined.
Yep.
That is the thing that's very impressive. The other thing that's very impressive is it does have superb BMW brakes, but they have a regen system, so they have a little bit of a weird feel.
Sure.
But once you kind of get past the fact that they feel a little artificial and odd, because of course they do, then they will clamp down like crazy in classic BMW fashion. So those are the really good things about this. After that, I remember making a note when I was driving this that how does the steering feel? And I made a comment where I was just like, current BMW. Occasionally you find a BMW where you're like, oh, this is all right. But in general, they just created an artificial heaviness to the steering and there's nothing else going on.
There's motors and servos.
Totally.
Detracting from that feel.
This is a heavy car with electronic steering. There is no steering feel. There doesn't even sport mode right now, it doesn't even have great body control. But again, it's 5,600 pounds.
But it's not meant to. They already have a model that's meant to.
Yes. My struggle is that price combined with the electric hybrid suggestion of this. I think this is, for the BMW owner that wants to be able to get that tax credit and feel like I can drive all electric when I want. And I think that's a small pool. And outside of that pool, I think there is no one to buy this car. I don't think there's anybody for it.
Okay.
Because at $81,000, I keep thinking about a few things. First off, when you actually run the battery down, or you're doing battery and gas combined, this gets almost the same miles per gallon as the lesser all-gas BMW.
Well, it's because you're just using the engine at that point.
So at that point, you're not actually saving anything once you're past the electric part. So that doesn't make any sense. The other thing I keep thinking about is, talk about all-in-one technology, let's go buy ourselves a Volvo.
Yeah, agreed.
The XC60 or the XC90. And what's interesting is they feel, and actually are, a little more powerful than this.
They do.
And I think the interiors are nicer and the price is lower.
And I think they drive better too.
And they definitely drive better. The dynamics are better. They hang on to their weight better than this does. This is not bad to drive, but it's not remarkable to drive at all. It is middle of the road.
I'm with you on that.
With a big price tag. It is in a sea of 5-seat CUV SUVs. It's just one from BMW that, by the way, I can drive this on all electric power if I want. And beyond that, it's just here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think BMW is trying things with this vehicle. They're doing the study that I mentioned right up front. They're creating the study, so they want to see, are our efforts worth it? The efforts we put into development and understanding the life cycle of the vehicle for a plug-in hybrid, is it worth it for us as a company to go down that road? Well, as it turns out, you can go about 50 or 60 miles on electric mode only when the battery's fully charged. So you've got to plug in it at your house or wherever you plug it in, and you have to have a full battery. You can also go up to about 80, 83 miles an hour on electric power alone. And because the electric motor is part of the transmission, all four wheels are getting power.
True.
So that's all very nice. It does act like an electric car. But as far as a personality, that's where it feels, I can't describe what is the personality. Again, I come back to BMW just trying things. They're trying technology to say, we want to develop that and we want to have that up our sleeve for the future. We know engines, we know how to make a car handle well, but this doesn't need to be all of that. But for $81,000, it feels like BMW is trying that out on their customer base.
Yes, and for 81 grand, it feels like this should be more. This should offer me something where I'm like, you know what you need to get? You need to get the 45e. That's not here. There's nothing in here that makes me go, I really ought to get that model. And that's too bad, and that's where I really question this. I do like all of the testing that you're discussing. I like all of the trial and error that is happening here to just go, okay, we need to make sure it all works and it all works together. And in that regard, it does well.
People mover, a large vehicle, great.
For sure, for sure. When it is an all-electric car, I've been talking about the whoosh assist.
The whoosh.
Okay,
I like it.
That's good. But when it's all electric, it is a slow electric car. It's got like 100 horsepower and 100 pound-feet of torque for a 5,600 pound car.
Anything that's not a Tesla is slow.
I bring that up because electrics don't have to be slow, and fast electrics don't have to be Teslas. That's good. That's really good.
That's amazing.
That's a lot of speed in a very short amount of time with very little effort from me. I floored it after I got around the corner. Oh, I should go now.
Yeah, I'm looking at your meter over here. You've got 1 mile of charge.
Whoa, 1 whole mile?
That's because it hasn't been plugged in.
But back to the all-electric mode, it isn't interesting or fast enough as an all-electric car to compete with people's Tesla perceptions.
Sure.
So you can't drive it as an all-electric and be like, this is so cool as an all-electric.
It's certainly luxurious enough.
It's more luxurious than the Tesla products because they're not really good on luxury.
Corollas are.
Fine. But this has got that really good power when everything's being involved, except I still think I'd rather be in the Volvo, where it does everything as well.
I would rather be in the Volvo. Therefore, if you're interested in one of these, you're a BMW fan, and I say lease it. And then it's out of your life onto the next bit of technology that BMW introduces.
If you lease it, who gets the tax credit? Dun, dun, dun. Because I think that's why you're going to buy it, because you're going to get the tax credit and you're going to feel good about yourself.
But then you're saddled with technology that's going to be turned over in just a few years, if not a year.
But even if the technology sticks around, you're saddled with something that is a remarkably average 5-seat SUV from a brand that is known for something better than average.
That's too expensive.
Yeah, there's that
But
too.
I like being here because the seats are great and it's luxurious.
BMW does great seats.
It's built for road trips. It's great. I like it mostly.
It's well executed. I also just think it's a snooze fest. It's just boring.